We open in a hospital where Simon suddenly bolts upright in bed. He's completely freaked out because he has no memory of how he got there. Dr. Newman tries to settle him down, explaining that paramedics found him last night having violent abdominal convulsions right in front of his house. They actually had to pump his stomach to save him. Newman mentions he's usually a pediatrician, but the hospital is so short-staffed, he's helping out in the ER. He hands Simon a lollipop and then drops a bombshell. Simon technically died. His heart stopped for nearly 2 minutes before the doctors managed to jumpstart it. To check for brain damage, Newman asks for some basic info. Simon rattles off his personal details perfectly, but things get weird when he's asked for the date. Simon is convinced it's the year 2000. Newman looks concerned and reveals that it's actually 2002 and that Simon has a wife named Anna. This triggers a memory for Simon. He remembers lying on the road in the pouring rain while an orderly named Travis saved his life. He remembers being rushed into the hospital and being surrounded by a medical team. He recalls his heart flatlining and having an out-of-body experience, watching the doctors perform chest compressions on his own body from above. He felt his spirit get slammed back into his chest the moment they used the defibrillator. He also remembers overhearing a nurse named Clayton telling Newman that he had been poisoned and they needed to call the cops, though Newman wanted to run more tests first.
Back in the present, Newman concludes that Simon is suffering from short-term amnesia since he's lost the last 2 years of his life. He tells Simon his memory will eventually come back, but Simon is still reeling from the fact that he's married. Just then, a blonde woman bursts into the room and throws her arms around him. When she tries to kiss him, he pulls away, leaving her totally confused. An awkward Simon explains his memory loss, causing the woman to have a total breakdown. She cries that she has nothing left and storms out. Simon tries to chase her, but Travis and Newman stop him. They claim they didn't see anyone leave the room. When Simon asks why the doctor didn't tell his wife about the amnesia, Newman says he did. And then the actual wife, Anna, walks in. Newman uses a puzzle metaphor to explain how Simon's memories are fractured. Anna mentioned she wasn't with him the night before. She was home while he was in her old neighborhood for some unknown reason. Simon thinks he was visiting his brother, Peter, at their parents' old house, but Anna drops another shocker. Peter died long before she and Simon even met. Simon starts to spiral. He insists he was going to see Peter last night, and Newman realizes he's stuck in a memory from 2000.
We see flashes of Simon's past, a car on a rainy road and a blinding light followed by total darkness. Anna tells him he was in a massive car accident back then, though she never knew the details. She only knew he had gone to see Peter, which was weird because the brothers hadn't spoken since a huge fight over their parents' estate. As they walk through the hall, Simon sees Travis give him a cryptic wink. Anna explains that after that crash, Simon ended up in this same hospital. She says he came back to town 2 days ago to finally pack up his parents' house, which had been sitting empty since Peter died. Newman suggests that maybe fumes from old cleaning products at the house poisoned him. However, Simon is plagued by visions of a staircase and shattered glass.
Once the doctor leaves, Anna's supportive wife act disappears. She slaps Simon and tells him to stop faking it, accusing him of being the one who killed his brother. Their fight is cut short by Travis, who takes Simon for an MRI. Travis mentions there's a rumor going around that someone actually tried to murder him. He tells Simon that how and why people die are life's biggest mysteries before leaving him alone in the machine. Suddenly, a mysterious man sneaks in and injects Simon with something. Strapped down and helpless, Simon screams for help until he blacks out. That evening, Simon wakes up screaming in a ward. The other patients are staring at him, and Travis calls him a wacko. A Dr. Truman comes in to calm him down. Simon tries to explain the attack in the MRI lab, but Truman says he was admitted to this room last night. A confused Simon asks for his wife and Dr. Newman, but Truman tells him he isn't married and there's no Newman on the staff. He claims the car accident happened last night, and Simon has been out cold ever since.
Simon bolts from the room and runs to the MRI lab, but it's occupied by different doctors. He frantically searches the hospital until Truman finds him in the cafeteria. When Simon asks for the date, Truman tells him it's 2000. Simon swears he's not crazy, so Truman suggests his brain just cooked up a story while he was unconscious, mixing up names like Travis from a patient named Travid and Newman from Truman. Suddenly, Nurse Clayton walks in, and Simon recognizes her from his 2002 vision. She's followed by a second nurse who turns out to be Anna. Simon calls her by name, but she has no idea who he is. He begs her to say she knows him, but Truman and Clayton pin him down and sedate him. As he drifts off, he yells that they aren't real, and he wakes up back in the MRI machine in 2002. The stranger is there again with the syringe, but this time Simon's screaming brings Newman and Clayton running. The stranger vanishes. Newman doesn't believe him, blaming psychiatric side effects from his medication. They sedate him again and leave. Simon eventually convinces Clayton to free one of his hands. He unstraps himself and checks behind the door, but it's empty. Back in his room, he tells Newman someone is out to get him, but the doctor just shows him security footage of the MRI room. There was nobody else there. Desperate, Simon runs to the other wards and finds Trav, the patient from his 2000 vision. Trav asks for a smoke, and Simon tells him they spoke 2 years ago. Trav calls him a wacko again, which Simon takes as proof that his visions are real.
In the elevator, the blonde woman, Claire, appears again. Simon explains he still can't remember her, and she says she's willing to wait. She tells him she loves him and kisses him. Simon asks how they can be together if he's married, and she says she doesn't care because he doesn't love Anna anyway. When she goes to leave, Simon grabs her hand and finally remembers her name. This triggers a flashback to him and Claire in a house together. They are discussing if their affair is wrong before getting intimate on a couch, totally unaware that Peter is watching them from the shadows. Back in the elevator, Simon tells Claire he remembers her now and they hug. She wonders if they're paying for what they did.
Simon returns to his room where Trav confirms it's the year 2000. Truman then pulls Simon aside to tell him Peter died in the crash. Trav mentions he's having surgery tomorrow and is terrified. Simon, having seen the future, tells him he'll be fine. Truman then says Peter's fiancée is here to see him. Simon goes to the cafe and is stunned to find Anna. She clarifies she's just a nurse on a break, but then Claire walks in, and she is the one who was Peter's fiancée. Simon is horrified that he betrayed his brother. Claire says she wishes she could change the past. 7:56, Anna then reappears and plays a tape recorder. It's Peter's voice saying, "Simon did this to me. Simon killed me." Simon snaps and pins Anna to a chair. A memory reveals that he only married Anna because she blackmailed him about Peter's death. Simon follows Anna out a door, and suddenly he's at his parents' house in the past. He hears his past self and Peter arguing inside. Peter tries to kick him out. A fight breaks out, and Simon pushes Peter through a glass ceiling. Current-day Simon watches his past self drag Peter's body to the car. Suddenly, the stranger attacks current Simon again. Simon loses his mind, grabs a weapon, and repeatedly stabs the attacker. He snaps back to the hospital room only to realize he wasn't stabbing a stranger. He just killed his friend Trav.
Clayton finds the body and screams. Simon flees to the elevator and hides in the basement. He bumps into Anna, sees blood on himself, and realizes he's killed again. He pushes her and she hits her head on the wall. He runs through another door and suddenly finds himself clean and back with Travis. He rushes to Trav's room and is relieved to see him alive. It was all a hallucination.
But then, Trav starts vomiting blood. Wounds appear on his chest that match the exact spots where Simon stabbed him in the vision. Simon screams, "I killed him!" Another flashback shows Simon trying to stage Peter's death as a car accident on a cliff, but he was interrupted by a passing truck. Back in the present, Nurse Clayton tells him Peter actually died on life support in the hospital. Anna arrives, and the head wound from Simon's vision starts to appear on her forehead in real time. Simon decides he's going to change things. He uses Newman's puzzle as a mental anchor and transports himself back to the night his affair with Claire started.
This time, he turns her down. However, Peter still hears her confessing her love for Simon. They fight again. Peter goes through the glass again, but this time, Simon immediately drives him to the hospital. In the rain, Simon gets distracted by Peter waking up and crashes into another car. It's Claire's. She dies instantly. In a surreal limbo, Peter tells Simon that Claire had turned her car around to come back to them right before the crash. Simon looks at a photo and realizes Dr. Newman was actually his father. Peter tells him they are all dead, and Simon needs to let go.
We see Simon's spirit watching the hospital scene from 2000. It turns out the years were just the times of his death. His heart stopped at 8 p.m., the year 2000, and he was pronounced dead at 8:02 p.m., the year 2002. Simon wakes up one last time in the bedroom, hears it's 2002, and accepts that his journey is finally over. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more recaps like this.